Have you ever wondered why some people seem kind and considerate on the surface, but their true nature eventually reveals itself in unexpected ways? It's a challenge many of us face, understanding who someone truly is, beyond the mask they present to the world. How can we discern genuine kindness from mere performance? How can we uncover a person's true character in a world where appearances can be deceiving? This is not just a modern dilemma. It's a timeless question that Buddhist philosophy has long sought to answer. According to Buddhist teachings, the true measure of a person lies not in their words or self-presentation but in their actions, especially in moments when they believe no one is watching or when faced with life's small, seemingly insignificant tests. Think about it. How does someone treat the waiter who brings their food? Or the stray cat that crosses their path? How do they react to a friend's success? Or handle a simple no? These everyday moments often reveal far more about a person than any grand declaration or outward show. In this video, we'll explore these subtle yet powerful indicators of character through a Buddhist lens. We'll look at the simple, quiet acts that hold profound meaning and uncover how they reflect the values of compassion, humility, and self-awareness. This isn't just about judging others, it's about observing and understanding, so we can cultivate these qualities in ourselves and recognize them in those we choose to surround ourselves with. Together, we'll find ways to navigate this challenge and, in doing so, deepen our connection to the world and the people around us. Let's begin this journey of discovery. The truth is often in the small details, and through mindfulness and observation, we can find it. How they treat service workers, a reflection of compassion. It was a bustling morning at a small cafe, the kind where the sound of coffee machines mingled with quiet conversations, creating a comforting symphony of daily life. Behind the counter was Emma, a young barista moving quickly to keep up with the flood of orders. Despite the rush and the heat, she offered each customer a warm smile, holding on to the hope that her small efforts might make someone's day just a little brighter. Among the crowd stood two very different customers. The first was a man in a sharp suit, busy scrolling on his phone. Without looking up, he placed his order curtly: large cappuccino, extra foam, and make it quick. When Emma handed him the drink, his scowl deepened. "This isn't what I asked for," he snapped. "Are you even paying attention?" Emma apologized, her hands trembling slightly as she remade the drink. He grabbed the cup without so much as a thank you and walked away, leaving behind an air of unease. Shortly after, another customer approached the counter. He was an older man, his kind eyes and calm demeanor a stark contrast to the previous customer. "Good morning," he greeted warmly. "Take your time. I know it's busy today." Emma's smile brightened at his words, and for a moment, the tension in her shoulders eased. As she prepared his coffee, he struck up a light-hearted conversation, remarking, "You must be a pro at this. I couldn't keep all these orders straight." Emma laughed softly, grateful for his patience and kindness. When she handed him the cup, he paused and said, "Thank you for what you do. You're doing great." That single moment stayed with Emma for the rest of the day, not because of the words themselves, but because he had made her feel seen. He didn't just see her as someone handing out coffee. He saw her as a person, worthy of respect and gratitude. The way people treat service workers, like Emma, speaks volumes about their character. These are the individuals who keep our lives running smoothly, often with little recognition or acknowledgement. Their work supports our routines in ways we may take for granted. From a Buddhist perspective, interactions with them offer profound opportunities to practice compassion and mindfulness. When someone treats service workers with kindness, it shows an understanding of the interconnectedness of life. But when they are dismissive or rude, it often reveals an inflated sense of self, a belief that their time or needs are more important than anyone else's. To understand someone's true character, observe how they interact in these everyday situations. Do they show patience when mistakes happen? Or do they let frustration dominate? Do they acknowledge the person behind the service with a simple thank you? Or do they bark orders without a second glance? These moments, though seemingly small, reveal much about their values and priorities. For those seeking to practice compassion in their own lives, these interactions can be transformative. The next time you find yourself being served, pause and take a moment to acknowledge the person in front of you. A smile or a word of gratitude can brighten their day in ways you may not realize. Consider their perspective. Imagine the challenges they may be facing in their workday. If the opportunity arises, offer words of encouragement like, "You're doing great," or "Thank you for your hard work." These simple acts of kindness align with the Buddhist principle of interconnectedness and allow us to uplift others while cultivating peace within ourselves. Moments like these remind us that every exchange is more than just a transaction. It's a chance to connect on a human level. When we treat service workers with respect and kindness, we reflect the best version of ourselves and embody the principles of compassion and humility. After all, the light we bring to others often finds its way back to us. How they treat animals, seeing the value of all life. In a small village surrounded by emerald hills, the people gathered every morning at the bustling marketplace. Among them was Priya, a young woman known for her radiant smile and her knack for storytelling. But this day, she looked troubled as she approached the village elder, a monk revered for his wisdom. She carried in her arms a small, injured dog, its leg twisted unnaturally, and its fur matted with dirt. "Master," Priya said, her voice tinged with worry, "I found this dog on the roadside while returning from the fields. It looked at me with such helplessness that I couldn't leave it behind. But some in the village say I've wasted my time. They say it's just an animal, and I should have walked away." The monk studied her and the dog for a moment, then smiled gently. "Priya," he began, "your act of compassion is not wasted. Let me share a story with you. Years ago, in a distant town, a young boy named Kiran tended to his family's farm. One day, while walking through the forest, he came across a bird with a broken wing lying on the ground. The boy hesitated. His father had always told him, "Focus on your work, don't get distracted by things that don't matter." But as Kiran turned to leave, the bird let out a soft chirp, as if pleading for help. Kiran couldn't ignore it. He picked up the bird, gently cradling it in his hands. He used strips of cloth to bind its wing and fed it crumbs of bread from his pocket. Over weeks, the bird recovered, and one day, it flew back into the wild. Kiran watched it disappear into the sky, feeling an unexpected sense of joy and peace. Months later, during a terrible storm, the family's crops were nearly destroyed. But as the wind subsided, Kiran noticed something remarkable. A flock of birds, including the one he had rescued, had nested near the farm. They began feeding on the pests that threatened the surviving crops, protecting what little was left. His father, witnessing this, said with awe, Your kindness has brought us a blessing. Never again will I say that compassion is a waste." The monk finished his story and looked at Priya. "Do you see, child? Compassion isn't just for the receiver. It transforms the giver and the world around them. When you help this dog, you didn't just save its life. You practiced the art of interconnectedness, the very heart of Buddhism. You may not see the ripple effects now, but they will come." Priya nodded, her worry easing. She looked down at the dog, which now wagged its tail faintly, and smiled. How we treat animals often reveals who we are at our core. Animals ask for so little: food, shelter, and a moment of kindness. Yet, their trust in us is profound. A single act of care can create a ripple of good that extends far beyond the moment. Not everyone, however, chooses compassion. There are those who view animals as burdens or inconveniences. I recall a story about a man who, annoyed by a stray cat near his car, kicked it away without a second thought. A passerby remarked later, his actions weren't about the cat, they were a reflection of the anger and impatience he carries within. Contrast this with people who see the value of all life. A neighbor once stopped her car on a busy street to guide a family of ducks across safely. Though cars honked impatiently behind her, she didn't waver. When asked why she did it, she simply said, "Because they matter, too." These moments of choice define us. Do we turn away from those who cannot ask for help, or do we offer a hand, even when it's inconvenient? Buddhism teaches us that all life is interconnected. When we care for animals, we honor this connection and cultivate qualities like empathy, patience, and mindfulness. If you want to understand someone's true nature, observe how they treat animals. Do they speak to their pets with affection, or do they dismiss them as mere possessions? Do they pause to help a stray, or do they ignore it, thinking it's someone else's problem? These actions are mirrors, reflecting their capacity for compassion or the lack of it. In your own life, consider how you can act with kindness toward animals. It might be as simple as leaving water out for birds on a hot day or rescuing a stray in need. These small gestures aren't just acts of charity. They are steps on the path to a more compassionate and connected existence. As Priya returned home that evening, the dog trotting beside her, she felt a newfound clarity. The whispers of the villagers no longer bothered her, for she had witnessed firsthand the power of compassion. Over time, the dog healed completely and became a loyal companion, teaching Priya daily what the monk had said: when we save one life, we save a part of ourselves. How we treat animals is not just about them, it's about us. It's a reflection of our understanding of the value of all life and our willingness to see beyond ourselves. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, brings us closer to a world where all beings are honored and cared for. How they react to other people's success, rejoicing in others' joy. It was a bright morning in the village square, and the air buzzed with excitement. Arun, a young man who had left years ago to pursue his studies in the city, had just returned with life-changing news. He had been chosen as an advisor to the king. The villagers gathered to celebrate his success, clapping him on the back and offering heartfelt congratulations. Arun, ever humble, smiled graciously and shared his gratitude with everyone around him. Watching from the edge of the crowd was his childhood friend, Sohan. They had grown up together, sharing dreams and laughter, but their paths had taken different directions. While Arun pursued education and climbed the ladder of success, Sohan stayed behind to tend to his family's modest farm. As the crowd's cheers grew louder, Sohan's smile faltered. His heart twisted with conflicting emotions. He wanted to be happy for his friend, yet he couldn't silence the small voice inside him that whispered, "What about you? Why not you?" Later that evening, Sohan sought out the village elder, a monk known for his wisdom. "Master," he began hesitantly, "I am ashamed to admit this, but I feel jealous of Arun. His success reminds me of everything I haven't achieved. I want to be happy for him, but it's so hard." The monk listened patiently, then spoke. "Your feelings are not unusual, Sohan, but let me tell you a story. In a distant land, two lotus flowers grew side by side in a tranquil pond. One blossomed early, its petals stretching wide to embrace the sunlight, while the other remained tightly closed. The second lotus looked at its companion with a mixture of admiration and envy. "Why does it bloom before me?" it wondered. But the first lotus, basking in the warmth of the sun, did not see itself as superior. Instead, it swayed gently and whispered, "Your time will come. For now, let us share this light together." As the days passed, the second lotus began to open, revealing a beauty all its own. And though they blossomed at different times, together they adorned the pond, creating a harmony that no single flower could achieve alone. The monk finished the tale with a soft smile. "Sohan, your friend's success is like the blossoming of the lotus. It doesn't take away from your own path. His light doesn't diminish yours. It simply shows what is possible." "But how can I truly feel happy for him?" Sohan asked. The monk replied, "Start with gratitude. Remember the times you shared, the bond you built. Celebrate his success as if it were your own. For in doing so, you free yourself from envy and open your heart to joy." This practice is called mudita, the joy in others' joy. It is one of the four sublime states in Buddhism, and it will bring you peace. The next evening, Sohan approached Arun, who was sitting quietly under a tree. With sincerity in his voice, he said, "I'm proud of you, my friend. Your success is truly inspiring." Arun, moved by Sohan's words, smiled warmly and said, "Thank you, and know that whatever I can do to help our village, I will." In that moment, both friends felt a deep sense of connection. Sohan realized that Arun's achievements were not a cause for envy, but an opportunity to strengthen their bond and inspire his own journey. How we react to others' success reveals much about our character. Do we cheer for them genuinely, or do we allow envy to creep in? It's natural to feel a twinge of comparison, but what matters is how we respond. Those who can celebrate the victories of others with an open heart often possess a deep sense of self-assurance and generosity. In contrast, those who dismiss or downplay others' achievements may be wrestling with insecurity or fear of inadequacy. If you want to understand someone better, observe their reactions to good news. Do they smile and offer congratulations? Or do they stay silent, their energy shifting uncomfortably? Do they try to redirect the attention back to themselves? Or do they let the other person shine? These responses are subtle but powerful indicators of their values and mindset. In our own lives, practicing mudita can be transformative. The next time a friend or colleague shares their success, pause and notice your feelings. If envy arises, don't suppress it. Instead, recognize it as an opportunity for growth. Shift your focus to gratitude, gratitude for the person's hard work, for the chance to witness their achievement, and for the inspiration it might bring to your own life. By celebrating others' joy, we free ourselves from the burden of comparison and cultivate a sense of abundance. Life is not a competition. It's a shared journey where each person's victory adds to the collective light. As the monk said, when you light a lamp for another, it also brightens your own path. Sohan's heart grew lighter that day. He began to see Arun's success not as a reminder of his own shortcomings, but as a beacon of what could be. Their friendship deepened, and Sohan found renewed motivation to pursue his own dreams, knowing that there was enough light for everyone to bloom in their own time. How they handle no, the power of acceptance. The village was buzzing with excitement as preparations for the annual festival began. Vendors were setting up their stalls. Children ran around laughing, and families gathered to plan their contributions. Among the villagers was Ravi, a young man known for his charm and energy. He was eager to organize a grand event this year and approached his friends with big plans for music, dance, and elaborate decorations. When Ravi asked his friend Mira for help, her response was hesitant. "I wish I could, Ravi, but I have family commitments this week. I won't have the time." Ravi's bright expression dimmed. "You're always busy," he replied, his tone sharp. "You can't even spare a little time for the festival?" Mira, taken aback, tried to explain, but Ravi walked away, muttering under his breath about how unreliable people were. Nearby, the village elder, a monk, had observed the exchange. He approached Ravi, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Ravi," he said softly, "may I share a story with you?" Once, there was a young sculptor who sought to carve the most beautiful statue of the Buddha. He worked tirelessly, shaping the stone to perfection, but as he neared completion, a crack appeared in the statue's base. Frustrated, he refused to accept the flaw and tried to cover it up, only to damage the statue further. In his anger, he abandoned the project entirely. Years later, he returned to the site, where he found another sculptor working on the same stone. To his amazement, the crack was still visible, yet the statue now radiated beauty. The second sculptor had embraced the flaw, incorporating it into the design. Perfection is not in forcing things to be as we wish, the sculptor explained, but in accepting them as they are and finding peace within them. The monk looked at Ravi. When you faced Mira's no, you saw it as a rejection of you, rather than an honest boundary she set for herself. Just as the sculptor struggled with the crack, you struggled to accept her response. But what if you saw her no, not as a flaw, but as part of her truth? Ravi frowned. "It's hard not to take it personally," he admitted. "I wanted her support, and her refusal feels like she doesn't care." The monk smiled. "Acceptance doesn't mean you stop caring about your desires. It means you respect the boundaries of others. When someone says no, they are sharing their truth. Your reaction to it reveals your own capacity for understanding and growth. In Buddhism, we practice non-attachment, learning to let go of our expectations and embrace what is, rather than clinging to what we wish it to be. How people handle no often reveals the depth of their emotional maturity. Rejection, boundaries, and disagreements are part of life, yet they often feel like personal attacks. The inability to accept no gracefully can lead to anger, manipulation, or resentment. On the other hand, those who respond with understanding and respect demonstrate emotional strength and a genuine regard for others. Imagine this. A coworker declines an invitation to collaborate on a project because of their workload. Do you react with frustration, pressuring them to reconsider? Or do you acknowledge their decision and explore alternative solutions? Your reaction doesn't just affect the relationship, it reflects your own ability to navigate conflict and adapt to challenges. Observing how others handle no can also provide insights into their character. Do they respect boundaries? Or do they push and guilt others to get their way? Do they sulk or retaliate? Or do they accept the response with grace? These behaviors speak volumes about their understanding of mutual respect and their willingness to honor the autonomy of others. For your own practice, begin by reflecting on how you handle no. The next time someone sets a boundary or declines a request, pause before reacting. Instead of focusing on your disappointment, try to see the situation from their perspective. What might they need in that moment? What are they prioritizing? By shifting your focus from your unmet expectations to their experience, you practice empathy and cultivate inner peace. Similarly, notice your own boundaries. Are you comfortable saying no when needed? Or do you find yourself agreeing to things out of guilt or fear of upsetting others? Buddhism teaches us that boundaries are an act of self-respect. When we honor our own limits, we create space for authentic connections and reduce the likelihood of resentment. Ravi took the monk's words to heart. Later that day, he approached Mira again, not to argue, but to apologize. "I was unfair to you," he admitted. "Thank you for being honest with me. I understand now that your no wasn't about not caring. It was about setting a boundary for yourself, and I respect that." Mira smiled, relieved by his understanding. Together, they found a smaller way for her to contribute that honored her commitments while still helping with the festival. In the end, handling no with grace is not just about respecting others. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of attachment and expectation. When we embrace rejection as part of life's natural flow, we find peace in the present moment. As the monk reminded Ravi, acceptance is not defeat. It is the beginning of understanding. Through acceptance, we grow stronger, kinder, and more at ease with the world as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. The nature of their jokes, humor with kindness. The village square was alive with chatter as people gathered for the evening's festivities. Among the crowd was Dev, a young man known for his quick wit and sharp humor. His jokes often had the crowd in stitches, and tonight was no exception. As people laughed around him, Dev's energy grew, his voice carrying across the square. But not everyone was laughing. Ravi, a quiet man who worked as a blacksmith, stood at the edge of the group, his smile strained. Dev had just made a joke about Ravi's slight limp, the result of an old injury. While the others chuckled, Ravi shifted uncomfortably, his eyes fixed on the ground. Nearby, the village elder, a monk, watched the scene unfold. Later that evening, he approached Dev, who was basking in the glow of his audience's laughter. "Dev," the monk said gently, "your humor is powerful. But tell me, does it bring light to everyone, or does it cast shadows on some?" Dev frowned, caught off guard. "What do you mean, Master?" he asked. "Let me tell you a story," the monk replied. Years ago, in another village, there was a jester who was loved by many for his clever jokes. One evening, he performed at a feast. entertaining the crowd with tales and quips. But among the laughter, one man sat silent. The jester noticed and made the man the target of his next joke, poking fun at his shabby clothes and quiet demeanor. The crowd roared with laughter, but the man's face fell. Later, the jester approached the man, expecting gratitude for including him in the show. Instead, the man said quietly, "Your words hurt more than you know. I laughed with you earlier, but now I feel small, as if I am not welcome here." The jester was shaken. He realized that while his intent was to bring joy, he had instead caused pain. From that day forward, he changed his approach, ensuring his humor uplifted everyone without singling out or diminishing anyone. The monk looked at Dev. "Humor is a gift," he said, "but it comes with responsibility. Your jokes can bring joy or cause harm. True humor connects people and lifts their spirits. But humor rooted in judgment or mockery creates division and hurt. Ask yourself, Dev, are you building connections or are you building walls?" Dev reflected on the monk's words, remembering Ravi's reaction earlier. "I didn't mean to hurt him," he said softly. "I just wanted to make people laugh." "Intent is important," the monk replied, "but so are the consequences. In Buddhism, we practice right speech, using our words to bring truth, kindness, and harmony. Humor that belittles others, even unintentionally, goes against this practice. It's not just about making people laugh. It's about ensuring that laughter doesn't come at someone else's expense. How someone uses humor reveals much about their character. There are those who make others laugh with wit and kindness, creating a sense of connection and ease. Then there are those who rely on sarcasm, mockery, or personal jabs, often under the guise of just joking. These moments can reveal insecurities or an unexamined ego, using humor as a shield or weapon. Think about the jokes you've heard. Have you ever laughed along, only to realize later that the joke was at someone else's expense? Or perhaps you've witnessed someone deflect criticism with, "Relax, it's just a joke." Such humor may mask deeper feelings of judgment or superiority. In contrast, humor that brings people together without targeting anyone reflects emotional intelligence and empathy. If you want to understand someone's true nature, pay attention to the kind of humor they use. Do they make fun of themselves in a lighthearted way, showing humility, or do they punch down, targeting those who are vulnerable or less powerful? The answers to these questions often reveal whether their humor stems from kindness or insecurity. In our own lives, practicing mindful humor can deepen our relationships and bring joy to others. Before making a joke, consider its impact. Will it bring light, or will it cast a shadow? If the latter, pause and choose words that build up rather than tear down. Equally important is how we react when we realize a joke has caused harm. Dev, after reflecting on the monk's story, approached Ravi the next day. "I'm sorry for my words last night," he said earnestly. "I didn't think about how they might affect you, and that was wrong of me." Ravi, surprised but grateful, smiled and said, "Thank you for saying that. It means a lot." From that day forward, Dev's humor changed. He found ways to make people laugh without targeting anyone, and his reputation grew, not just as a funny man, but as someone who brought people together with his words. Buddhist teachings remind us that our words, including jokes, carry energy. They can heal or harm, unite or divide. When we use humor with kindness, we align with the principle of right speech, fostering harmony and understanding. So the next time you crack a joke, consider its ripple effects. True humor, like true character, leaves no one behind. It lifts everyone together. And in that, we find the deepest joy. Conclusion: wisdom in observation and action. As we navigate the complexities of human relationships, the small, everyday moments often reveal the most about a person's character. How someone treats service workers, animals, friends, or even strangers speaks volumes about their values, priorities, and inner state. These actions, though seemingly insignificant, provide a lens through which we can better understand not only others but also ourselves. In Buddhism, observation and mindfulness are central to cultivating wisdom. Paying attention to the subtle behaviors of those around us, not to judge but to understand, can deepen our relationships and guide us in choosing the people we allow into our lives. At the same time, these observations can act as mirrors, prompting us to reflect on our own actions and strive for greater kindness, patience, and humility. True character isn't revealed in grand gestures or polished appearances. It's found in how we treat those who can offer us nothing in return, in how we respond to rejection or success, and in the energy we bring to our words and actions. Practicing compassion, mindfulness, and respect in these moments is not just a gift to others, it's a gift to ourselves, aligning us with the principles of peace and interconnectedness. As you move forward, let these reflections guide your interactions. Pause before reacting. Observe the behavior of others and yourself with an open heart. Choose kindness, even when it's inconvenient. And most importantly, remember that character is not a fixed trait. It's a continuous practice, a journey of becoming better every day. If this exploration has resonated with you, take a moment to share it with others. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and join the conversation in the comments below. Share your stories, your thoughts, and the lessons you've learned from observing the little things that reveal true character. Together, we can inspire a world where understanding and compassion are the norm, not the exception. Thank you for being here, for reflecting, and for striving to be your best self. Let's continue this journey of mindfulness and connection together.